Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Tom and welcome back to a brand new video and a little bit of a chat with you guys about a certain topic that we're now allowed to discuss. Now, first of all, this gameplay in the video is provided by Arif, so if you haven't subscribed to him already, then go subscribe to him in the link down below in the description. But we're going to have a little chat about the F1 2016 beta, as we've now been given the all clear to have a little bit of a chat about it and tell you guys what it's been all about. Now, I've been trying to keep fairly tight-lipped about this, and it's been very hard to keep the lid on things and not talk about it, but finally we can talk about this thing, so let's just jump into it straight away. Now, I haven't really got a script or anything or structure to it. I'm just going to ramble along and have a little bit of a chat with you guys, so you guys also get involved in the comments down below and see what you think. Now, first things first, we had 3 different parts to the beta. Now, the first 2, they had the 2015 cars with 2016 handling. So 2015 models with 2016 handling. Now, the final part of the beta, the third part, did actually have the full 2016 cars, including the Haas team, because in the first 2 parts, there was actually no Haas team in the build. Now, let's move into the first part of the build first. Now, in this first part of the beta, which was the one that everyone was excited about, all it had was time trial, and I believe it had 3 tracks in it, which were Spain, Australia, and Austria. It had those 3 tracks to do time trials on, and it's basically just to test setup work, see what the default setup was like, see what the normal setup was like, and also overall try and find any sort of game-breaking bugs or glitches. So that meant obviously smacking into walls, doing strange stuff, you know, trying different lines, driving on curbs or grass or gravel, and just testing things out to see any sort of things that you might come across that may be breaking the game. Now, I can tell you straight from the go, this game felt so much better than F1 2015 when I first drove it, because albeit even though it was time trial and there was no cars on the track, the actual smoothness of the game was really shocking to me compared to 2015 when that first got released. Now, obviously time trial, there's not really much to say. We was just turning laps. Everyone, out of the 300 people, only 100 on PC obviously, everyone on PC was trying to beat each other's lap times on all 3 of the tracks. You know, I gave it a good old sweat session and really tried to get some decent laps in there, and it was overall really fun. You could really push the cars and it was very enjoyable. Now, straight out off the bat, what stood out to me from the first beta was the new Dynamic Pro Surfaces, I believe that they call them. So when you drive over curbs now, or off of the racing line, or even on the gravel or the grass, you've got to be super careful now. You've got to be really careful and put the power down if you're running no traction control, because it's very easy to spin. Like right now, if you get onto this curb, let's say right here on the right hand side in this Bahrain gameplay, if you get onto that and you start accelerating, even like 3/4 of the accelerator, you're going to spin around. So you've got to be very careful with the throttle input on this year's game. Now, those were like the major points I could find out. Obviously, learning the new handling model, which was very impressive. The force feedback this year is a massive step up from 2015. It's definitely the strongest the wheel was ever felt on this game. Like, I actually had to turn mine down. The game, the beta actually came with all the values set to 100, and it was far too strong for my liking. So I had to turn it down, and I like a very strong wheel. So I had to tone that down a little bit, and also coinciding with the new Dynamic Pro Surfaces, it was all a very, you could definitely tell it was a new game because it felt completely different. Now, in terms of the performance of the cars, it is actually very accurate. I've got to say, the gaps were very good. The Ferrari is about 3-4 tenths off of the Mercedes. Maybe the Ferrari could do with a little bit of a nerf, but the Red Bull's also like 6 to 7 tenths off. The Williams were quite far down the order. McLaren wasn't too bad, and even cars like Manor didn't even feel that bad. So I feel like they got the actual way the cars felt really accurate. Now, moving into the second part of the build, which was a little bit more interesting, finally the most exciting part. Now, this was part 3 of the beta. I mean, you got the 2016 cars, and we got a couple of different tracks. So I believe we got Australia, we got Spain, we got Spa, and Bahrain. So those were the 4 tracks that we got in the final build, and this was specifically a quick race build. So we had the quick race game option available. We had 2016 cars, and you could basically do a full race weekend. So what I did was, I did practice. There was no R&D practice program because it's not actually career mode, and I believe it wasn't included in the build. Now, it was a no R&D, just practice session alone, and then we could do any sort of qualifying format that we wanted, and you could also do obviously the race, any race distance that you wanted. Now, I did a couple of 50% races, and what I did was I drove a selection of cars. So I drove, I believe, the Ferrari, I drove the Haas a couple of times, I drove the Renault, and I even drove the Manor. So I tried all sorts of cars, and I tried to test what the connection was like with the AI in terms of how would it work. Was there any sort of lag bubble with the AI, an aggressive AI? Were they quite lenient? Now, I will say I could not race an Ultimate. I was on Legend the entire time. I could not touch Ultimate AI just yet. I need way more time on the game in order to me even try to race on Ultimate. So we did Legends on my end of the thing, and basically I did a couple of races, and I've got to say, it is so much fun. You literally, this game, if you drive, let's say, in a Renault, if you put in the hours and the time and the work into practice, you will really notice a difference in qualifying, because on this game you do really notice the difference if you find a couple of tenths or not. So let's say in practice you find a little bit, not of an exploit, but if you find a little bit of a different line through a corner that might make you go faster, if you apply this to qualifying and you get it absolutely perfect, you will find that will gain you a few seconds. So let's to give you an example, I nailed a qualifying lap in Q3 in a Renault. So I went for a Renault, did the entire qualifying. I just scraped through Q1 on a set of soft tyres in P16, then I qualified in P9 for Q3. So I managed to get through all of it, just about scraping through, and then Q3 came along and I put in an absolute stonker of a lap time. That was honestly felt like the greatest lap ever, and I can tell you the top 9, and I was 9th in Q3 when qualifying finished. We actually was literally 6 tenths apart. 6 tenths separated the top 9, and I was in a Renault and I got 9th place. It was literally, I got the perfect lap, and it still was only good enough for P9. So you really have to be on your game in this year's this game, you know, especially if you're in a lower car. So you really have to be right on it like a car bonnet. But overall, the quick race was really good. I got to try out manual starts for the first time, because those got brought into the final build, and the manual starts are very, very easy to do once you get used to them. Now, obviously, you can get them wrong, and that will really hinder you, and you still have to control the wheel spin when you get off the line. But manual starts are definitely a very, very interesting selection, and you can, you know, it's such a range of different starts. The AI always get good ones or bad ones, and it makes it for a very interesting turn one at any track that you go to. Now, talking a bit about the racing, I can say that, for example, the different strategy elements of, you know, the team will give you, for example, let's say they will give you 2 strategy options for the race when you're sat on the grid, but you can modify both of these, unlike the 2015 game. So you can modify and do whatever strategy you want, and you can try different tyres. Now, I can tell you in this year's game, I feel like let's say the hardest compound tyre available, that is definitely a very competitive tyre. It's actually not as bad as in real life, so I think maybe a bit of a nerf could be in place there, because I feel like all the AI go onto the hardest tyre too much, and they're too quick on that tyre. So I feel like that could maybe be improved a little bit. But overall, the grand scheme of things, the racing is so much fun. You can have such a good race, and because of the 3 tyre compound strategy, it really throws it up in the air, and you don't know where you are until the last lap when you cross the flag. So it's a very, very interesting race. I had a great race in a Haas around Australia on Legend AI, and I managed to get all the way up into P5, and I was chasing Raikkonen for P4, and then with 2 laps to go, I realised I was running out of fuel, so I had to really, really save fuel at the end, because I went for an aggressive fuel strategy, because you can actually adjust your fuel load on the grid. So you can maybe go for a bit more of an aggressive fuel load and actually underfuel the car, but that means you're going to have to save later on, and that's what I did at Australia. So I had a really good race in the Haas, and the last 2 laps I had to do some extreme fuel saving, and I actually finished at P7 because I was going super, super slow. So it just goes to show, if it's not the tyres, it's the fuel. There's so many variables in this year's game, and that was literally just a quick race. So in career mode itself, this could be a completely different story when it comes to the R&D system and beating your teammate and your rivals, and so on and so on. So there is definitely a lot of substance to this year's game, guys, and I can tell you, I think this does have the potential to be the best F1 game Codemasters have ever produced. The handling is absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love it. There's a small bit of input lag, which is obviously, it's been the case in every single Codemasters game, so it's not really a new thing. The cars are really, really nice looking. The detail is great. The cars actually sound really good in this year's game. I find I actually really like the sounds a lot in this year's game. The handling, like I said, great handling. The AI are nice and aggressive. I didn't actually use Ultimate, not once. I didn't even touch Ultimate, so I don't even know what they're like. So you've got to be very, very careful with Ultimate. You know, you've got to be very much on your game. So keep an eye out for that. But one thing I do want to finish off by saying is I feel like the setups are a little bit weak. I feel like the setups could do a little bit of work, because I honestly believe the best setup is the default setup, and you can run that any track, and that is your fastest route. I did try so many different things. I tried different extremes, small little tweaks here and there, but I genuinely found that the default setup is the best one. You can possibly, if you really took your time and tested it, I think there is a better setup out there, but you really need to dedicate a lot of time to it. So I feel like Codemasters should reward us for finding that good setup balance. So I think that should be a little bit easier for us to find. It's a little bit too complicated in my opinion right now. But other than that, that is more or less the beta. I don't want to go into too much detail or drag this video on for too long, but that is the general gist of it. So overall, this game has a solid foundation. When the third build came in and all the AI cards got implemented, the game ran smooth as silk. There was no problems with FPS. I had absolutely nothing wrong. I was running it, I will admit I was running on medium graphics, but medium actually looks no different pretty much to ultra on Codemasters F1 games. It's the same as F1 2015. Ultra doesn't really look any different to medium, so that was the settings I was running it on, and I was getting a solid 60 all the time, and even at Bahrain in a night race. So honestly, there was no problems with this game in terms of smoothness. I didn't find any game breaking bugs whatsoever. There was only one little bug that I found, and that was when you get a wheel tether come off the car, the wheel actually sinks through the ground a little bit, but that is literally it. That is the only thing I found that has a flaw with this game. So overall, I'm very impressed with this game so far, and it's definitely not going to be 2015 in terms of just general inconsistency and just how broken the game was on release. So that really does bode well for the future, and I can't wait now. So we've only got about 12 days until the game comes out, but that has been my beta impressions, guys. If you have enjoyed it, then please do leave a like on the video and let me know that you did enjoy it, you found it informative, and also you're excited for F1 2016. And also, if you're new on here, please be sure to subscribe to my channel for future F1 2016 content, and I'll see you in my next video very soon, guys. So that's about it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.